role players and also can alleviate our salary cap situation over the next couple of years. And if you can find a deal like that, I think it would be a hard choice not to pull the trigger on it. That said, as I get into the piece, I do understand why it would be hard to do. A, his value is very low. B, is the shortest route back to playoff relevance is if you are somehow able to tap into whatever all of these other coaches and executives haven't been able to tap into with Andrew and get more consistency. If you team with Ryan Saunders and find an approach that gets him into an aggressive, dynamic kind of a player, you help him all summer long, which this team has not done in the past, and try and build him into a legit, number 2, number 3 kind of a guy, which really, let's face it, most of this season he was a number 4 or 5 guy at best. That's the quickest path back. And so that can be enticing to try and change it. I mean, as a new guy coming in can say, hey, look, these guys all messed up in this area. I know what will work with him. Let me give it a shot. And so I would not blame them for doing that, especially when his value is so low. But I do think that they have to come in with a plan to at least explore the idea of trading him and see what kind of market is out there for him.
Thanks to sodastick.com. They do such fresh and topical stuff. Now they're doing the Hendy's Garage Foamy Truckers hat. They just arrived. It's a tribute to Larry Hendrickson and the iconic Hendy's Garage, established in 1970. It was the unofficial training facility of the 1980 USA Olympic hockey team and the Minnesota North Stars. 10% of sales from this will be donated to the Hendrickson Foundation, a foundation started by Larry that helps people with physical and mental disabilities play sports. I know I went out and did a story on the foundation once, and the fact that they were help so many young kids with all kinds of disabilities. If you know Darby Hendrickson, the Wild assistant coach, you know that he's a quality guy from a quality family. We miss Larry. So check out sodastick.com for that and all their other special runs. So let's do a couple of Twitter questions here. Nathan Dowsing asked about Wiggins. I think you just answered that. From Timberwolves France, John, do you know how the decision will be made for the POBO job? Is Taylor the sole decision maker, or is Casson or someone else involved in the final say? Well,
there's basically the process kind of goes in terms of Ethan Casson has been largely in charge of selecting this group of, if you want to call them finalists, if you want to call just this group to interview. He was the one that did a lot of the legwork, did a lot of the homework to put this group together. And he will certainly play a role in the decision-making process on where it ultimately goes. Glenn Taylor will also have obviously an enormous say, and probably, he certainly has the final say in who gets hired. But I do think that there has been a relationship that has been established between Glenn and Ethan to a point of mutual trust. And so I think it will be sort of a collaboration on who they think is the best for the job. I think that the people who are interviewing now will not only talk to those two, but will talk to many people in the organization. And I think there will be feedback given up the food chain on the impressions that were left there. And so they'll take a lot of views into account. But yeah, ultimately it probably will come down to what Glenn and Ethan together decide is the best way to go. And that's just, it's not going to be as unilateral as in the past where Glenn just picks someone. Ethan will have a say in it. And so maybe that will help to get to a point where they find someone that's a better fit than Glenn has been able to find.
From Minnesota Timberwolves official burner account, are we entering another 13-year playoff drought?
Well, I guess we don't know. But the idea behind making this change now and addressing the leadership the way that they did was to try and avoid that. I think that a lot of people in the organization saw that this franchise was on the wrong path coming off of that playoff drought or the playoff ending. And so they said, look, this isn't going to be good enough. Like getting back to the playoffs one time is not enough for us. And the culture that had been established here under Tom Thibodeau and Scott Layden was not a healthy one. And so they made a change. And so they're trying to find a new leader. Now, if they swing and miss, on this person, yeah, you could be heading back down that path. Look at what the Lakers are going through right now. I mean, they're in year 6 of their drought. And so it could absolutely happen, but they are hoping that they hit a home run with this hiring and that stops the slide. One of the best things that Tom Thibodeau ever did for this organization is he did end that drought. And so there isn't so much pressure on, let's just find someone that can end the drought, that can get us back to the playoffs. That's an enormous asset. Now they can pick someone who they think can put together a long-term vision to get this thing back to sustainable, which it wasn't, last year and the year before.
I have a thought on Tom Thibodeau. I don't want to let you know we were working with Bitesquad, Bitesquad.com, the Bitesquad app. They are now serving breakfast. You can order breakfast as early as 8 a.m. Use promo code TALKNORTH to get your first delivery fee waived. Keep using Bitesquad even after you use the promo code because they make life so easy. They will deliver you breakfast. They will deliver you lunch at your office. They will bring you dinner. You won't have to do dishes. You won't have to wait in line. You won't have to drive. You won't have to pay for parking. Bitesquad.com, fast food for your mood delivered. I'm just glad that I finally, I was a little uncertain about the Thibodeau era, but then I read that Jimmy Butler just made everything better.
I know. It was unbelievable, right? I mean, that's what he said on NBA TV the other night. And
what's he talking about? And why is he so loyal to a guy who destroyed his career?
I don't know. And that's always been Tibbs' blind spot. Again, not a bad person,
And you can even say he did this right, he did this right, he did this right. But Jimmy Butler was what mattered the most, and he blew it. And he didn't just blow it, because, listen, personnel people make mistakes all the time.
Yes.
He blew it in every way you can blow it. Misreading Jimmy's intentions, misreading Jimmy Butler as a person, misreading the way Jimmy would interact with teammates, misreading him as a leader. He blew it, and that destroyed everything.
That's right. And that just goes back to the day that the big practice happened and he blows up. And, the reaction that you heard from Tom and from Scott was best practice we had all year. And it's understand the big picture here. Understand what is happening. And there was an unbelievable level of blindness to the damage that was being wrought, to the roadmap that Jimmy was paving for Andrew Wiggins and for Karl Anthony Towns, or if they were ever unhappy with the situation and how best to handle it. And so to act like none of it was a big deal and that this was all part of a process is a stunning misread of the situation. It would have been okay if Tibbs made the trade for Jimmy Butler and everything went exactly the same way as it did. That's okay. That's not the sin of it. The sin was not recognizing what was happening and the damage that was being wrought. And
trying to hide it from Taylor for months.
Exactly. All of that stuff and saying, oh, this is no big deal. All we have to do is win and it's going to be fine. No, it is not going to be fine. It was never going to be fine. If they would have said immediately and reacted immediately, okay, Jimmy's unhappy, this is not working, let's do our best to quietly trade him and move on. Tom Thibodeau is still here, still making decisions, still in this job. But he missed to such an unbelievable degree. That's why he's on the outside. And to continue to double down the way that he does, again, points to the lack of his own personal accountability in this. Everything that you hear from the Tibbs camp is, it's Glenn Taylor's fault.
Yep.
He's the one.
Bad organization.
This is why they stay bad. Karl Anthony Towns is soft.
And you can make all those arguments,
yes,
but they're not an excuse for blowing the Jimmy Butler situation.
That's exactly right. To a degree, they're right about a lot of it. But there was a lack of personal accountability in that thing that really just made people completely scratch their heads. And that's why it was not at all difficult for them to pull the trigger the way that they did on him after a big win, in that cold-blooded fashion. That's just the way that it worked. And it's just unfortunate.
From Ferris, any idea what the Wolves are looking for in the draft? Point guard for the future, Carson Edwards, please.
Well, it's a difficult thing to say right now because we don't know who's going to make that decision. But yeah, I think point guard is something that they should look at if they can get a dynamic point guard. I don't know if Carson Edwards is the right one for it, but if they could somehow, I've said Kobe White over and over. If they got lucky and got up to 2 and got John Morant, that'd be tremendous. But yeah, I think that's something that they have to explore, even if they sign Tyus to a 4-year, $30 million deal or something like that. I do think that's a position that they can improve at, that would help Karl Anthony Towns a lot, potentially Andrew Wiggins as well. And so if they could find some dynamic ability there for the long term, even if you have Jeff Teague for the short term here, they should absolutely look at that.
From Nikolai, interesting question. Will the interviewers who want to keep Wiggins, as opposed to those who want to dump him, be held in higher regard by Glenn, as he is determined? As it seems like Glenn is determined to keep Wiggins.
I don't know that Glenn is determined to keep Wiggins, and I don't know that he isn't at this point. We haven't talked about that. I do think at one point, certainly as he signed the contract, and even I think through these last couple of Tibbs years, where Glenn wondered if the coaching was some of the issue. Glenn has constantly tried to give Andrew the benefit of the doubt. I don't know that is there anymore. I think that there is just a general inside the organization. There's a general kind of feeling of, Andrew, I mean, it's been 5 years now. You've had all sorts of different coaches. Like, what is it going to take to get you to do this? And so I think that if someone presented Glenn with a smart and feasible trade proposal that probably gets the Wolves better in the next 2 years and helps their salary cap, I think he would seriously consider that. That's just my gut feeling about it. So I don't think it's a case of the person who wins it will be the person who says, "Damn it, I'm going to fix Andrew Wiggins and we're going to keep him." Like I don't think that's going to be the thing that puts anyone over the top.
From Ryan Rand, seeing performances like Dame's last night gives him more reason to think this team needs to find a star point guard. Any chance the team can trade for one this offseason?
Trading will be tough. They don't have a lot of assets to trade. That would bring in certainly not a Damian Lillard type of a player. Point guard is a deep position in the league right now, so there are others that not a lot of teams have a lot of need for point guards, and the Wolves have all of the point guards. I mean, they,
right.
Derrick Rose is a free agent, Tyus Jones is a free agent, Jeff Teague, but you have those three. It's kind of like one of their deepest positions.
Right.
So if you're going to trade, you'd want to trade ideally a point guard like Teague for a point guard, but Teague doesn't have a whole lot of value right now either. So I think that their best opportunity to do that would be in the draft. Otherwise, you're looking at just bringing Tyus back, which could be fine, or like going and getting a Darren Collison or a George Hill type of a player this summer as more of a bridge type of a situation.
And Lynn asks, is it possible for the Wolves to contend in the Western Conference with Wiggins on the roster?
I contend for a championship? No. But can they be a playoff team? Yes, I think they can. They were. And I think if Robert Covington comes back healthy and Andrew Wiggins takes steps to improve, I think they can be a playoff team. But I don't see them contending for a championship anytime soon.
Brett asks, was it just 2 years ago that the Wolves were considered an up-and-coming team with young players and salary cap flexibility? What happened? I think we talked about Tom Thibodeau already. From El Jefe, why is Glenn Taylor hiding? He needs to own this team's failures. Jim Pohlad finally did this and finally made some good executive decisions. Taylor needs to do the same. Do you agree that Glenn is hiding? I
don't know that he's hiding. I mean, we haven't heard from him, but you never hear from anybody during a search. No. So that's not unexpected. And I would say the decision to fire Tom Thibodeau 2.5 years into a 5-year deal where you're paying him another $16 million is owning the decision, is saying, we screwed up and we're going to go try and change it. Now, will it make everybody feel better if he comes out maybe after this and says, I haven't done a good job and I need to do better? Maybe it will. And maybe there is some audience for that, but I think the simple fact that he has fired Tom Thibodeau. B, he has empowered Ethan Casson to help him in an area that he has always struggled, which is to find executive talent.